And the challenge is called 2020 Challenge. Christy explained it to me, and I realized at some point somehow that that was very important, because to have completed that, it was the last challenge that Mary Kay herself issued. And it was also the prize at seminar is you got to go to the lunch.
With Mary Kay.
Mary Kay,
With Mary
see how
Kay.
famous lunches are?
Yeah.
You get it.
And so from that, Christy said, and I said, what is 2020? 2020, and it took me a long time to figure. I knew the one part, you had to do 20 classes in 1 month and order a fair amount of
Products.
product, and you had to sell at least $100 at every class. So I lived in a town that didn't know anybody, but I started and I started and I started. And it was happening, it was happening. And when I would get discouraged, Christy would say, it's the only time you can ever be a charter member of Mary Kay's 2020 Club. The last day, I was so inspired, but I thought I'd done everything in the world. I called my director, who was not a national then. And she again gave me the words of inspiration.
And prizes.
Yeah. I forgot to add that.
I'm just saying there were a lot of prizes involved
I
too.
worked for prizes. And the prizes brought me success. And a lot of earrings and things like that. Anyway, it was about noon that day. And she said, it's just a few hours left. You can still do it. You've only got a tiny ways more to go, and it's a Sunday. So she, through her words of inspiring, I called a guy that I thought he'd come just because he was my friend. And he did. He brought 2 friends. So I had one more class that day, and I'm putting this stuff on the guys. I'd never even seen a guy class. But they were good sports, and I've got 3 more, right? Some neighbor dropped by to pick up some part of a Mary Kay product, and I told her my dilemma, that I needed 1 more class. And this was the last day to reach my goal of completing the 2020 charter member of Mary Kay and being able to have lunch with Mary Kay. She said, I'll come back after work with some people. I thought, sure you will. She's going to go work in our only store, and she's going to work all day, and she told me she's going to come back here tonight and help me out. Oh, sure. At 8 o'clock that night, I went to the door, and there were 8 women I'd never That was my last party, my last achievement that I had to accomplish the 2020. And I proudly went to seminar and proudly sat in front of Mary Kay at her first 2020 challenge.
And I was so busy helping her get to that lunch, I didn't make it. So I had to walk her to the front door,
And I
and
said,
I had to let her go.
come on in, there's lots of places.
And I didn't do it.
Her integrity, get her outside the door.
But my mother had lunch with Mary Kay.
And I got another pair of earrings from Christy.
She got a pair for each class. She got 20 pairs.
Oh my
Okay, Sandy Rain.
I've met Mary Kay a few different times. My most special memory is when we went to Dallas. When you become a director, you go to Dallas for director training. And when I became a director, I got to go to Dallas. Mary Kay was the main trainer. So she was right here, and she told us to do this, this, and this. I actually have personal written notes from her. But I remember when we were there, there was 2 things that she did that just warmed me so much that I thought, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to be in this company until the day I die, no matter how much money I make or not. Because one, she made all these wonderful cookies for us, and then she gave us as one of our gifts a cookbook with the recipes of the cookies that she made for us. And I was just like, really? When did she have time to do that? It was just so amazing. And the other thing, she had just had cataract surgery on her eyes. She had a lot of, and they told her, the doctors had specifically said, no flash photography. And I'll never forget, because my roommate and I were standing in line to go meet Mary Kay before our lunch for, there were, people had their cameras out, and what's his name, the old guy, he's retired now. Dale Alexander. He was walking her in, and all the people are like, no pictures, no photos, and she goes like this.
Yeah.
In his side, and she goes, I didn't work this hard to come here and not take a photo. And so she scooted us over, and she said, come two at a time. So she had us come, and she touched each one of us and looked at us right in our eyes, put us on each side of her, and she stood there and took pictures with every single one of us, and we did it two at a time, and the staff was just like, oh, we can't do this, and she just stood there, she wouldn't move, and she was petite, but they couldn't move her. I just was like, oh, that's it, I'm done, I'm a lifer, because it just made me realize that she did give her heart and soul to every one of us. So if you haven't met her, that is who you are a part of, and it's just an amazing company.
Oh, yay. Great song, thank you. It's perfect.
Well, I also had several opportunities to be with Mary Kay, and she believed in us so much. And when you were in her presence, you just felt her belief. She looked into your eyes and you could just feel how much she believed in you and how much she loved you. And she totally made herself available to us. And I can think of two times come to mind when I was looking at the head table here. It reminded me of an event that I had earned, and she would always be at the head table, like where Katrina was, would be Mary Kay, and you could walk right up to the table, and she would reach her hands out to you, and clutch your hands, and talk to you. I mean, she was just so available to us. But the thing that made the most impact on me was after she had had her stroke, and she could no longer speak, which was just devastating to all of us, because her words of wisdom were so powerful and meant so much to us. And the last seminar that she came to, and she came out on the stage and was in a supporting, she couldn't stand on her own, but she was in her beautiful seminar gown, which she always looked gorgeous at seminar. And she couldn't speak to us, but we knew, just watching her stand there and look at us, how much she loved us and how much she wanted for us. And for us to be able to pass that on to other women, that she's not here anymore, but we can sure look into someone else's eyes and help them to feel the belief that Mary Kay gave to us. And that's what she wanted us to do, was to pass that on.
And what was the trick?
We need more money, right? That was
It seemed like she
mouthed, yes, you can.
Yeah,
she did.
from the stage in her ball gown and her full makeup. She mouthed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Christiane, she did so much work. I mean, I know you've heard the story about all the work that they did with her. She had a brain specialist that worked with her so that she could speak. She only wanted to be able to say the words, I love you. And she would have someone come over her house every day to work.
Oh my gosh, no, I didn't know
Special
that.
technology to help her brain just to be able to say those words.
I remember the lights, we carried the little lights and we, waving, in the air. That was just beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, go Keiko.
How can I follow that?
Where's the tissues?
I know, right?
Right here.
So I joined UK September 1993. Actually, my agreement went on the anniversary day.
Wow.
So, thanks to Christy. And so she told me, well, if you become a director, that's the only way you really personally can see Mary Kay. Because at that time she was already very matured and very frail, I thought. So I said, okay, well, I'm gonna hurry up. And so I hurry up and got the car, and I hurry up and became a director, and I finished in 10 months. Back then was the fastest thing we could do. So I finally met the Mary Kay during the new director training, and she, you know, I'm a giant Japanese, and she's she's about this tall, and
She's shorter than that.
shorter than me. No, no. What happened? I just tell you what kind of woman she is. She took off the heels, and she was teaching us 3 hours, no notes. No notes. She was talking like this. And then we had a long line, about 250 or 300 new directors. We were all lying, waiting for turns to meet Mary Kay, to, you know, shake hands. And I just like, whoa. You know?
Shorter than me.
She's got to take her shoes off though. That's out, yeah.
So I felt her cute, you know, fluffy white hands, and I just like, wow, she's so gorgeous and so powerful, and I just checking her, you know, like, wow. No surgery, you know. And, you know, I was telling you, this woman, Mary Kay Ash, I found her has such an ability to be in the presence, just one-on-one, no matter how many people are there. I mean, we had 300 people, wow, you know, but she was like, Cadillac, pass it on. I was just like, okay, people know how to go. This is what I was like, speechless. And I just like crying, like, oh my God, thank you, Mary Kay. So that was how it was. That's what kind of woman she was. And then another episode, I lived in Disneyland, right? So I took my daughter to Disneyland.
That means she went there often.
All the time.
I'll translate.
All the time. Thank you, Katrina. Give her hands. So I took my daughter so many times, and I remember how, you know, cute she was. So I bought her big hat, you know, American flag on the hat, like So I bought one for me, so I can be 8 foot tall, and I bought one for Mary Kay, and I sent it to her. And then, you know how busy she is, but she handwritten thank you note to me. And you know, I thought first it's like, well, can that be her handwritten? You know, she's signing Mary Kay, so I just go, wow, this is but I thought, wow, you know, out of thousands of Salesforce, she literally appreciated it. So that's her, and I just treasure my memory, and we perpetuate her
Yes.
dream, and that's what I want you to carry on, because you are the only Bible people know about Mary Kay. You know, we're not part of Mary Kay company. You are the Mary Kay, so I want you to act accordingly, be pride, have a pride, and have an ethics, and have a golden rule. You know, that culture we're going to carry on. That's why I want you to pass it on. Thank you.
Doreen,
Lots of memories.
40 years. Yeah, she's got lots of memories.
I'd like to say I joined Mary Kay 100 years ago. That's what it sounds like when you hear all these stories. But my sister was a handicapped missionary in Japan, and one of the reasons I joined Mary Kay was to help her. And on their first visit to Japan, Mary Kay and her husband went over to visit my sister. And during the visit, they got, of course, talking about Mary Kay, and they were doing all this stuff. But Mary Kay did not take any products with her. All she had was what she was carrying in her purse. And anyway, she ended up giving all of that to my sister. So I don't know what Mary Kay left there with.
Oh my
So she must have kept her lipstick, but I'm not sure. She gave all of that to my sister to use, and I've often wondered, did she have 2 lipsticks? Because she did.
Well, it wouldn't surprise us that she would have given her everything, right?
She did.
Wouldn't surprise us at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've often thought about that because she was
It's
such a
cute.
caring, loving person. And that was the first time my sister ever met her, and the story in Japan and all. But after that, my sister and her became very good friends, and they communicated all those years. So it's great memories for me.
No, just a minute. We want your other story.
We need some more.
We want when you had to drive her.
You and your
Oh,
husband met,
that was
she and
We
Melanie
want that story.
at the airport.
You met her at the airport. What?
Is that the hair story?
No, the
We probably talked about that.
She met her at the airport.
Oh, you mean which one where I took her?
She didn't tell.
This was one of the times I'd won a Cadillac, and
One of the many times.
and we had the girl in the back was sitting in the back seat with me that had made the arrangements for all of us to go to TVN. Channel 40. And Mary Kay was going to talk and
She was going to be on TV, and you got to pick her up.
yeah, and anyway, we picked her up, and we were gone for quite a while, and she was interviewed and everything, and on the way back, Mary Kay turned, and you know, Mary Kay was great. She talked all the way there and all the way back. We just sat and listened. And on the way back, she's in the front seat, she turned to the back where I was sitting, and she says, did anybody tell my husband? She called him Mel. Did anybody tell Mel where I was going? Well, I looked at the girl and she looked at me and we thought, well, that was not our responsibility. Nobody had told Mel that we were taking Mary Kay.
That's her husband.
So when we come back to the airport, of course, there was a big thing going on, like a seminar or whatever at LAX. There was tons of people. And back then, Mary Kay couldn't go anywhere. They grabbed her and they were all over her. Well, she was tiny, like Keiko said. And my height and the girl that was with me are the same height. Well, Mary Kay got in the middle of us and marched us right through that crowd. We had to go with her to the top of the floor, whatever that was, ring the doorbell, and we're standing there. She's got us locked in. And when the door opens, Mel's there, and he leans on like this. Well, Mary, she's, well, tell him where you took him. Laughing so hard I can't talk, you know, and the other girl says, TVN. You know, we couldn't believe it, you know. But anyway, that was our fun part that day.
Well, I'm loving these stories.
I know.
I'm loving these stories. I always love to feel Mary Kay because you know what? When I started at the same time you did, 1993, and I remember going to a seminar, and the theme was the greatest celebration on earth. And Ringling Brothers didn't have anything on Mary Kay. And she had an entrance. I mean, I just sat there like in amazement. If you've ever been to a seminar, and I was laughing, and I was, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this, and I was crying, and then Mary Kay had this entrance that she came out with. It was just so like extravagant.
Yeah.
Like, it was the Pope Mary Kay.
Yeah.
She had a stagecoach and the men and the horses and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I got it. I mean, I was sitting in the nosebleed section.
Yeah.
But you could feel her love radiate just, I mean, it wasn't fake. It was just, you could feel such a presence. And so when I finally became a director, I was like, okay, I finally get to be trained by Mary Kay Ashton. It was one of the last DIT classes.
Yes.
And I was like, okay. And there were like 400 people in our DIT class. And so I was like, I'm going to meet Mary Kay. I'm going to meet Mary Kay. And I'm not like, we live in LA, so we see stars all the time. I'm not starstruck or anything. And it wasn't like that, like fame thing. It was just like what she did for women and what she stood for. And you know, when you really know the culture, you have so much respect. And so I stood in line, and I was like, what am I going to say? It has to be profound. Okay, I have to look smart. I have to say something really, oh, you changed my life. And so I can finally get up there. Okay, it's going to come out so eloquent. And then I got there, and she reached out, and literally with her ocean blue, crystal, diamond eyes. I'm not even kidding you. It was like a hallelujah moment. It was like the world stood still, and I'm not even kidding you. It was like the world stood still, and she embraced me with her eyes, and she grabbed my hand, and I don't know if she just soaked her hands in extra moist night cream and kept them like that. The softest hands I had ever felt in my life. I was like, it feels like butter. She grabbed my hands and she pulled me, and I was like, I hope my breath is okay. She looked at me, and I was like, and I couldn't, all the words just got out of my brain because I was in such gratitude. And she said, I guess she felt my nervousness, and she goes, it's okay, honey. How are you? And I said, I'm fine. And then she pulled me even closer. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, we're almost nose to nose. And she goes, you're not fine. You are great, and don't you ever forget it. And I was like, hallelujah! I was just like, oh my gosh, she was so amazing. But I also tell you that during that training class, she was really funny and she was really real. Like, she would break it down. She was a tough cookie.
Yeah.
So when she meant business, that hand would go on that hip, and she would take, and she hopped on the table, and she looked at me. She had that little grandma spunk, like, I will coach you, too, along with loving you. Don't get it twisted. Okay, but she just loved us so much. I think she just wanted, we were her daughters. We are her daughters. And I know she's looking down on heaven and and looking and going, wow, the legacy continues. So.
So many stories. I'm going to tell you a couple really quick ones. Mary Kay was so funny, and so I guess one of the funniest Mary Kay stories I know is not one that I personally experienced, but Mary Kay would always have to go through the back door.
Yeah.
She would always have to go through the hotels, through the back entrance, the kitchens and so forth. So she was gracious to everyone. And she would take just as much time talking to the janitor or talking to someone in the kitchen as she would when she was on stage. And so Dale Alexander just used to have us rolling all the time with those funny stories. And he talked about bringing Mary Kay to Vegas and her walking through the back door in the kitchens and how cordial she was to everyone. And it was at the end of this amazing event. And, Mary Kay, as so many others said, she couldn't go anywhere without being noticed and without being bothered, and she was always on, right? Yeah. And so she told Dale, she's like, I don't gamble, but she just wanted just to sit down at one of the slot machines just for a minute, and what would it take to do that? And he said, no problem, Mary Kay, we are going to create a block, nobody's going to see you. And, they got this whole little situation together, and they said, Mary Kay, you could just come and sit right here. And he told the story, he's like, as soon as she sat down, here comes this woman from the other way around and goes, hey, Mary Kay! Story. But I want to tell you, gosh, I was blessed to have that private meeting with Mary Kay. And just like Angelique said, I had my tape recorder already. I was going to record the whole thing. When I got home, I hadn't even pushed the button. An anointing that was unbelievable. Her presence, her just being in her space was just so unbelievable. And when I got home and I had that personal note, just like Keiko said, the same thing. I said, wow, could this be personal? But it was raining that day in Dallas. And when I got the note, I could tell that it had been written and mailed that exact same day because there was a little dribble. You could tell where the rain had just washed a little bit of her signature away. I will tell you lastly, another favorite Mary Kay story is, again, not a personal experience, but I was picked up by the company in a limousine, and one of the drivers, he's been driving for people in the company for years, and he used to be one of Mary Kay's original drivers. And so he told me stories, and he took me. She had moved out of her pink mansion, and she was living in her white home that she lived in when she passed away. And so he took me to her pink mansion. It was up for sale, and we went all around. There were like 2 classes after me. We never got to go to her house, to that home. So, but I walked through and was looking in, and he was telling me stories. But the most amazing story was, he said, out of all the people that I've driven, and I've driven some of the wealthiest people, just about all the wealthy people in Dallas, he said, and there was a couple other direct sales companies, he said, I have the highest respect, this is the driver, he said, I have the highest respect for Mary Kay. He says, my job as her driver is I would follow her and I would sit with her wherever she was, and he would be behind her as she walked through all of those, those kitchens. And he said, I saw her on camera and off camera, and he said, I tell you, she is the real deal. When you would see her, and he talked about some of the other people, he said, it's amazing. You see them on camera and they're on, and then when they get off camera, it's a whole nother thing, and you're watching them with their kids, and you're, the things that people wouldn't even know that you would be watching. He said, but wow, I'm so amazed at how she touched my life. And, he was just going on and on, someone who was not in Mary Kay. He said, she is the real deal. How she is when nobody's looking is how she really is. And I just thought that made me so proud. And so honored that she is just an amazing, powerful woman, and that she touched every person's life along the way who might have felt like they weren't significant in the big game plan. She treated everyone as if they were so significant, and that's what's so important and what I love most about Mary Kay.
Thank you.
And I'll make mine really short because I didn't have a chance to actually train with Mary Kay, but You know, I first joined the company in 1981.
Oh,
When?
1981.
Wow.
That was the first time I joined Mary Kay. And it was because I read a Reader's Digest article that had been at the Westminster Mall. And it was all about her dream company. It was about Cadillacs, furs, and diamonds. And I said, that's what I want. That's what I want. And so
Cadillacs, furs, and diamonds.
I didn't get all that right, but I
Yet.
Yet. See, 1981 and where we are today. It's not where you start, it's how you finish, right? When you set your mind to it, you can finally do it. And I wanted to tell you that I did have a chance to see her at the Crystal Cathedral, and I don't know what
Yes.
year that was.
I did too, and
I
my
was
daughter.
there.
It must have
Easter.
been since 1992.
I don't remember when that
It was since 1992, yeah, because
But
I
I
was there
was-
with my daughter.
I
Oh, you
think it's
were?
94 maybe.
Yeah, probably not
Is it
94.
during the
Well, you
Easter?
probably know
At the
best.
Easter?
It might have
Oh, you
been.
weren't
I
there
just
yet.
don't remember.
If I had my
thought it
computer,
was
I
much
could.
earlier than that, but
Anyway.
anyways, I was a little bit bold, you know, she had been sitting there with a panel and she was with Dr. Schuler and then it ended and I kind of watched where she went. I said, I've got to go see her. So I kind of followed her through the crowd,
Hey.
doing this and doing that. And you know what? She wasn't really close to me, but I just had to yell out her name. And she turned around and she actually looked me in the eye and she nodded. And I thought, that's really nice of you to do that, but I have seen her at seminar.
That's really
Because she didn't have to.
No.
She could have
She
ignored me.
acknowledged you.
She
She made a
acknowledged
point.
me, you know, and she kind of looked at me. And then other times when I was at seminar, you know, we used to always just fight our way down to the very front, you know, to take that picture. Now again, I was a little bold. I moved my way in, pushing a few consultants over. And I just needed to have that touch of the hand. You know, I joined in 1981, and I needed to have a little something of her on me. And so that was really special, and so I always heard her speeches, and some of the stories that I was told were actually by other directors. You know, she loved her popcorn and her she liked
Hot sauce. Hot sauce.
peppers
Pepper
and
gun, but it
hot
was gunpowder.
popcorn. Something like that, so she had all these nice stories. So
Cheeseburger.
anyways, I
Hey,
just,
did she touch your hand? Did you get to touch her
oh
hand?
yeah. I was pushing my way, and you know, I was right there. And she did, and she did. But that was only one time. There's a lot of times I went to seminar and I tried, and, you know, I failed.
But you kept your number.
I did.
And that's why you were director
I did.
today.
So that's all I have to say.
And then like Angelique, when I went to training as a new director and we stood in line and yeah, I was gonna say all these profound things and be really intelligent and smart, and when I got up to her, all I could do was bawl. That's it. So, I never got to tell Mary Kay my name, because you were supposed to get up there and tell her your name, and I never got to, but that's all right.
She knows it now. She knows it now.
And then the last time we saw her, my mother, myself, and my daughter were all backstage for something. I was going on stage for something. And when you got to go back, so she was going to come on for that last moment, the last hurrah.
It was after her stroke.
After her stroke, and she couldn't talk, and she was in her ball gown, and they were going to put her on stage one more time. And they saw us backstage, and they, so everyone who's backstage, they walked through and they said, "Do not cry. Mary Kay's coming. Do not cry. If you cry, you have to leave. Do not cry." Well, what's the first thing I do? But I didn't. My mom, my daughter, and I were all ball babies. And we sat there and we said, "We're not gonna cry, we're not gonna cry, we're not gonna," because we wanted to see her the last time backstage, close up. "We're not gonna cry, we're not gonna cry, we did not cry.
I still remember her coming out of the
Yeah.
room down the hall
Yeah.
with the men around her,
Yeah.
her support system, and her wonderful son, and walking down the hall. And I had to see, now heritage, because you really live to be old enough to live through all this. My daughter and my granddaughter were with me the last time I saw her.
Three generations.
But we couldn't cry. We couldn't cry.
What did you do after she passed?
Yeah, then we
Did you
bawled.
cry?
We were so proud of each other that
We were so
didn't
proud.
cry, 'cause we're all
Because we're all
crybabies,
crybabies.
and we all love Mary Kay. And
We did it. So that's your heritage. Does that help you to know Mary Kay better?
Yes,
Thank you to all our fabulous women.
So they can tell stories
Yes.
of what they've heard of somebody who actually saw and talked with Mary Kay.
We do
We
this.
want you to carry this on to the people that you know, and that there really was a Mary Kay. That she was not
She wasn't the Betty Crocker spoon.
spoon. And it's so important, and they told us every time, the years that she was ill towards the end, that we are the heritage, and we should tell, and tell it to you, so you all have one of these
You remember
stories
these stories.
that you can tell somebody that you heard that was real.
And Christiane, and that's why you want to become sales directors now, because that is where you get to actually go at seminar. Her room, you get to look in her office. But when you become a sales director, you actually get to go to her office and spend time in her office, and that is as close to Mary Kay as you can get. It's set up just as it was when she left. So you want to be there. When you become sales directors, in my area, I give you the CD of the original training that Vicki talked about. Someone.
Okay, I'll get it.
Okay. When we were standing there, and I had 40 unit members and got to sit on a pink pillow, and you get that. So that's why you. But it's not just that. You want to know who has some of the best stories? The Mary Kay staff.
Yeah.
I mean, Mary Kay's personal secretary
Yes.
still works for the company. So you want to go to director training, because when you spend those days, you get some really amazing Mary Kay experiences from the staff, because that's the thing that still impresses me. People love Mary Kay.
Yes.
I mean, there are staff members that have been there 30 years, 35 years, 40 years, so you want to be sure that you get to Leadership Essentials is what it's called now, I think, as a brand new director. Don't miss that opportunity.
Okay.
I was just gonna say one thing, when we went to the White House this last time, there was this guy there, a really tall black guy. He had tons and tons of buttons, and we were looking at him like, okay, cause we're a guy. He goes, well, Mary Kay, when she never would come through, she'd always talk to all of us, and he got his first button for something that he did, and for Mary Kay. So he's like, so since then, I've just collected Mary Kay's like buttons from everybody, and now he had like 250. He had so many buttons, and the first one was Mary Kay for something that he did.
That's funny because I pinned the heart button on him because I said you're missing the new one, and so I actually got it and I pinned it on him, and they took pictures of me pinning on the heart board. How cool!
At my first seminar I went to, I was 6 months pregnant with my daughter at the time, and I needed some aspirin for a headache, so I found just one of the staff members standing by who had actually seen the whole time I was at seminar, and so she took me to this back area to sign a little brochure for my post. So as I'm walking with her, I got to talking with her and found out she'd been working at the Dallas Convention Center for, I think, like 30 years, and she used to be Mary Kay's escort. When Mary Kay was at seminar, she would be one of the people that would escort her around the backstage area of the seminar and take her from place to place, and it was just amazing. Like, anybody who's been in Mary Kay's space just felt her, and felt her love for people in general, and it was just really amazing to talk to this woman, and you know, that's as close as I'm gonna get. So I just
Oh, no, you're closer.
no, but it was just neat to speak to somebody, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
who wasn't in Mary Kay,
Oh, okay.
who had such a feeling of her love and had been so close to her. So that was really neat.
Yeah, people want to share. Go ahead. We're sharing a little bit more, so I know we're going a little bit over time, but I know how to make it up. So
But
don't
they
worry.
got it loud enough for everybody.
There was
I have time for the last two.
There was a director that came when I was brand new in Mary Kay, and she has opened up Germany. Remember do you know who I'm talking about?
Forget?
She was
Anyway.
anyway, this woman had been with Mary Kay since the very beginning, and she had done a lot of things, like she was responsible for developing a Mercedes-Benz in Germany instead of BMW and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, she was telling about the story of when they were in Hawaii, and she was responsible for taking care of Mary Kay and getting her from one place to another, and where they were going, there was a lot of really bumpy, really rough roads. And Mary Kay, you know that she always wore wigs, right? Because, I mean, her company was wigs and makeup when she first started, right? Wigs and skincare. So, Mary Kay always had these wigs. Well, they were going over all these bumpy roads, and she said she looked back, and Mary Kay's back there, and she's bouncing all over. She's just a funny lady. She had a great sense of humor. She's laughing and laughing, and her wig's all crooked on her head. And she's just bouncing around, and they're just laughing as they're going down these Hawaii bouncy, bumpy roads. And I think that is somebody with a sense of humor like that, and not so worried. I mean, when they got there, like, okay, straighten your wig up. You know, can do, let's do it, you know?
Okay, last one.
When you go to Mary Kay's office, her pink linen couch, my dad made it.
Oh my God.
I went to a seminar in 2003. I'm waiting on the tour, you wait in the line and see all the things on the wall. And it said, it was a letter to these people in Alhambra that are interior decorators. And it said Erickson. And my dad was their upholster.
Oh my God.
So when I came home from a seminar, I told my mom, I said, did Dad do Mary Kay's office? And she goes, oh yeah, that's right, you remember this fabric? And I said, oh, I remember, because I used to clean the shop on the weekends. And it was a light pink, almost white linen, and that was the couch I saw, so my dad did Mary Kay's.
Oh, Christiane, I'd like to say something.
Okay, you get like.
I kind of feel gypped because I've been using Mary Kay for 19 years and nobody had ever given me the opportunity. So I feel like I could have met Mary Kay had somebody open their mouth. So I just want to tell you guys, it's really important that you share that opportunity with all your guys.
Yes. Did you hear that? She'd been using Mary Kay for 19 years. No one offered her the opportunity. And you, I know.
Yeah, I got like so many years I don't even want to tell you. Most people think that's how old I am. 40 years I've been using Mary Kay.
And no one offered the opportunity. Tell me. Okay.
Well, you were under 18 for part of this.